Hey guys, welcome to our channel, Debt to Life, where we speak with individuals like you and I who have paid off a substantial amount of debt. My name is Williams.
And my name is Gene. Today is a very special episode as it is our very first segment of the show. Today we are going to go through the journey of two amazing people who have paid off $48,000 of debt.
So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe with all your friends and family. Now let's get down to the episode.
Hi, my name is Jeff,
My name is Faith.
and we paid off $48,000 in 8 years. And today we will share with you how we went from debt to life.
All right, guys. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. I mean, from $48,000 in debt in just 8 years, and now you guys are completely debt free. Tell us a little bit about yourself before before the debt free life and now.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been married for 12 years. We got married in 2012.
So 11 years, going on 12.
Going on.
Working on 12.
That's right. So when both of us, when we got married, it was right after I had graduated college.
Mm-hmm.
So a majority of our debt was in both of our college educations, and then we had car loans and outstanding debt. I think we owed money to my parents for our wedding and that kind of stuff. And so when we first got married, we had all this debt, and we were kind of living very much kind of paycheck to paycheck. And I had just started in my career. So I was, low man on the totem pole, getting paid at the bottom of the pay scale. And Faith was working, you were working at AmeriCorps, I believe, at the time, or doing tutoring. So she was working more of a part-time role.
Yeah.
And so we were very much having to, count every cent that came in, and hopefully we had more money than we did month each and every month. So that was like how we started. And so that was a pretty big focal point in our marriage at the very beginning, was being in debt and having to be very mindful of where we were with our finances.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, awesome.
Wow. And even as you guys came into the covenant of marriage, what was the discussion like as far as hey, my name is Jeff, I have debt. Hey, my name is Faith, I have debt. How are we going to tackle it together?
Yeah. So I don't know that we had that conversation before marriage.
I think, like, full disclosure, he knew how much I owed. Jeff being
Okay.
who he was, like, money was something we talked about. It wasn't like we got married and I was like, oh, hey, I have $18,000 of grad loans. Like, that wasn't the case. But I think neither of us had really been raised in a home where paying off your debt was something like, if you obviously, my mom always taught me, like, if you have a credit card, you pay your balance. But as far as like school loans, it wasn't like, make sure you pay those off right away or do whatever you can not to get them. And Jeff being Jeff, I think he probably always had a budget. He's very much like minded like that. And the way that I looked at money was, I knew what amount was in my bank account and I knew what I was spending, and I just didn't spend more than was in my account. So we didn't talk about money a whole lot before we got married. And when he tried to talk about money, it was always a fight because I didn't want to talk about money. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that I wanted to hear about. So
Yeah, so prior to marriage, we probably didn't talk about money at all,
yeah.
other than, how much is it going to cost to get married? And then, but then after, we started living together and we had a joint bank account, those types of things. It's like, me being the person I am, if you've ever been around Dave Ramsey and his financial piece, you have the nerd and you have the free spirit. And so I'm very much the nerd as an engineer. And so I always had a budget. And so I started to, put that budget into place without having a conversation. And so now all of a sudden it was like forcing a budget on our new marriage. And so that caused a lot of angst at the very beginning. So
I don't imagine that would have worked out too well.
no, it did not.
No.
I would say there's like a statistic where You know, majority of the of people that have problems in their marriage or have fights in their marriage is surrounded around money. And with
Absolutely.
100% certainty, I can say that you know, 90+% of our fights at the very early parts of our marriage were around money and the fact that we were in debt, and so we had, you know, we had to just be super careful with things. We couldn't spend money the way that we wanted to spend money.
The way that I wanted to spend money. I
Right.
didn't care.
And what we just had, we didn't have any financial freedom because we were very
Got it.
much,
Yeah.
you know, for lack of a, well, we were very much kind of in a bondage of,
Yeah.
of, with, you know, being, I think the Bible talks about being a slave to your lender,
To
right?
the lender, yeah.
So we very much were kind of in that bondage to our lenders because we didn't have any extra money to be able to do anything with.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons Williams and I decided to name our channel Debt to Life. You know, you talk about bondage and you don't own your own life, and when you're in debt, that's basically what it is. You know,
Hmm.
you are basically living, but you're already dead because you're going to work. You know, you're just going to work just to make payments and payments after
Correct.
payments, and it's just a cycle. You know, but when you decide, man, I don't need to live like this, that's when you're going from living a dead life to now you are actually living and you get to enjoy the things in life that you always wanted to do, you know?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's right.
Absolutely. So, like looking back now, what were the worst or biggest money mistakes you think you made?
Oh,
Buying the Santa
yeah.
Fe.
That was one of them.
That was such a
No,
money pit. It was terrible.
Yeah. So, you know, before we were all out of debt,
Uh-huh.
well, I'll start this way. So early on in our marriage, my company actually allowed us that we did Financial Peace University. So they paid for anybody that wanted to attend Financial Peace to go through it because the principles of our company were so pro and for, you know, us as employees living free. They
Mhm.
knew that if we were free in our finances, that we're going to be better workers, we're going to have a better attitude, and the culture of the company is going to be better, which is ultimately
Absolutely.
what they wanted. So they ended up, if you wanted to go through Financial Peace, they would pay for it. So we did that.
Very naively, I said yes. I would tell people Dave Ramsey ruined my life.
But
That was how I felt for at least a year. Everything
Now
was
you can be
the debt budget, debt free, like the zero-based budget. I hate that. I still don't like
Yeah.
that, but I understand it now. I understand it now.
yeah,
but
so
now
free spirit.
Yes, clearly.
But so anyway, as we were doing that, it took us a little bit to embrace the full Dave Ramsey
Not
process of debt snowball and budget and that stuff. But as we were doing that, we needed to buy a new car
Mhm.
because
yours his hood wouldn't open anymore.
oh yeah, my car, which was out of commission, we needed to buy something, and Faith really, at that time we had a newborn, so
Mhm.
Faith really wanted to have an SUV because at the time we lived up north in the snow,
and I've
so
been driving a Corolla.
yeah, so she was driving a little Corolla, and so she wanted an SUV.
Yeah, which I do love, just not
so
snow.
we bought a used
Santa Fe.
used car that was all-wheel drive that we were hoping was going to be what was going to be our, you know, a saving grace in the snow, and
Mhm.
was just a money pit because instead of being a good consumer and really reading reviews, it was trying to be
impulsive.
cheap, impulsive and cheap about it, instead of, you know, really putting in the effort to find the best deal and the best value really for what we needed.
Wow. Wow. I can only imagine.
Right. That's a lesson learned there, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So you guys briefly said how like the type of debt you guys have. Can you
Mhm.
guys go like on a breakdown of what the debts were and how much each were?
Yep, I'd have to get it probably.
Yeah, I mean, most of it was, so when we had everything totaled up, it was we just actually pulled it out. We looked at it.
That snowball. I was like, I bet I have it somewhere.
Yeah, we had it from back when we did fine. It was from 2014, and I looked at all the debts. It was $48,200 was the total of that 48,200. Probably
was your parents.
Yeah, so 38 of it was student loans. The remainder, the last 10, was other outstanding debt that we had. Cars. We're paying off a loan that we had to take out for like dental. We had
and furniture. We stupidly bought furniture on credit. Like that, again, another mistake. Like, I don't know why we did that. I think it was a 0 like interest loan, which was probably the only way I was okay with it, but still, we didn't need that, you know. So we would never do that now.
So we had so 38 was student loans, and probably 10 of it was other.
Okay. Wow. And how'd you guys stay motivated through that process, getting it paid off? I mean, I just went through that process with my wife, so I know she's the spender, and she would always entice me. But how did you guys end up going through staying motivated through the journey?
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's some long suffering and having perseverance and having some grit with it. Just kind of continually getting small wins. I mean, the Lord has really blessed us throughout our life, and so not taking advantage of those things. But when we would get a bigger tax return than we thought, or I every once in a while, my company would say, oh, we have like, you're getting an extra bonus this year. Like, it was blessings and favor, but then it was not just saying, oh well, we're going on vacation with this little bit of extra, but we would intentionally put it towards debt and paying it off. So there were times where we could have done more with what we were, Christmas or whatever, but we chose not to, and we chose to scale it back in an effort to continually pay that off. And I think, when we got small wins, when one loan got chipped off, and then, it was like, oh man, we just paid off a loan. We can now, I mean, we would do that snowball. We can now apply to the next loan. And you just start seeing that snowball happen. Once you get over the precipice of the hill, right? As the snowball starts to pick up, you start gaining more momentum. And so just that long suffering led to momentum, and that momentum has really helped drive us towards the later part of those years, when we had been doing it for 6-7 years at that point.
Wow.
Mention like saying no when you got a bonus, or when you got some extra little money that came through, like a windfall or something. What was one of the biggest things that either you, Jeff, or Faith, or as a couple, as a family, feel like you guys had to say no to? Like the biggest thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't, I have to do this, but you said no to.
Ooh, that's a good question.
A lot of times, to be honest, it was traveling. So at the time, we lived in Ohio and my parents were in Florida, and Jeff did work for me to be able to see them as often as we could, but it wasn't nearly as often as I would have liked. And sometimes it was me going by myself just because we couldn't afford the plane tickets. So that, I think, was the hardest thing for me. Well, and I love, like, Jeff could tell you, like, if we have money, I'm like, let's take a trip, let's travel, let's go do something, And so I think it was really hard to know that we had that extra $1,000-$2,000. It could have been a great vacation, a great trip, a great experience. And instead it's like, let's pay off a loan. Or, put a lot towards the loan.
You say you have the extra $1,000 or $2,000, maybe even $3,000-$4,000, and it's like, here you go, paying off debt again. My wife is the same way through this process, because we're still working through our student loans, and every time we're going to make a payment, is can we just go out to eat? One day you won't even have to worry about it. It's just gonna be we can go out to eat 3-4 times a week, 5 times a week, and we'll be fine. But not right now,
I mean, and I totally understand that. I feel all of her pain because I lived that for like 5 years. It took a while, I think once we reached the point where I could actually see the debt snowball working, like especially when we first started and Jeff wanted to do it, and there was such a huge amount of debt, and we were living so frugally. And I hate that. Like that's just, it goes against me, like as a person. Like not that I want to spend $1 million. Like I wasn't, when we got married, my debt was college, so it wasn't like I was a crazy spender. You know what I mean? Like, but to be like, oh, we can't go out to eat, or no, like we'll just have to, I don't know, that dress is pretty, sure, but we don't need it. Like it's those type of things, like just to say no to things that we don't need. But like you just said, it took me a while to see the value and see the progress. Like I really had to, I mean, he did the budget, so I didn't have a choice. Like he decided where all the money went.
Yeah.
But once we finally started seeing like how once you do that, you pay off your smallest loan and then you put it on the next one, and how that gradually adds up and they start paying off faster. It was actually pretty cool. Like I finally bought in.
Yeah. And going through that journey, I'm sure your mindset towards money changed, whether it's you, Faith, or even you, Jeff. I know you're the numbers guy, but how did your mindset towards money change?
Well, so I think our view of money, there was a big compromise. So on her end of the spectrum, she was very that free spirited. She was okay with, hey, if we have $1,000 in our bank account, then we have $1,000 that we can spend. We don't want to spend more than that, but we can spend $1,000. And so there was a lot more fluidity in how we spent money from her viewpoint. From my original viewpoint, I would call myself a miser. I was so close-fisted with money, like you were pinching pennies and dollars were falling out because of the way that I would have such a tight grip on money. And so as we continued to grow in our marriage and grow in freedom in our finances, like we weren't 100% free, but we were on our path to freedom. So our viewpoints of money became much more in sync and towards the middle, where where I was so gripped on money, like I didn't want to be generous about things. Now, as I started to find that the Lord would provide and continue to provide, like generosity became something that we both enjoy doing. And Faith on the other side of that spectrum, she wanted to be generous. She or would want to spend money, but now it's like, okay, well, we've gone out to eat 3 times this week. A fourth is not that often. I'm being sarcastic.
No.
But maybe it's we've gone out to eat 2 or 3 times this month. We don't really have enough in our budget to go out a 4th time, even though I really, don't want to cook tonight. So let's do something that we have in the house so that we can save the money and not go out to eat. So like our viewpoints became much closer when it came to money. And because that there was no longer that separation, like our marriage got stronger, our viewpoints on money were much closer. When we started talking about money, we were talking about it from the same side and on the same team, as opposed to you don't want to spend money and all you do is spend, and so it a lot of those those 90% arguments that we had early on went away. We don't have those arguments anymore.
That's awesome.
Or
as much.
I think we both try, like if we're talking about money, like if I want something, like a good example would be we just moved and we're in a new house, and so we have savings, and so it's what do we buy, right? So I really wanted a fence, and that's a big spend, and so Jeff and I we had to continue to talk about it, like is this a wise investment for us? And we actually got a really good quote, so we have a fence, but it wasn't something where before I've been like, I don't care how much it costs. We have it in savings. Let's just put it in, And instead we waited and we made sure, we have a dog and our houses are close. So it's very nice to have a private backyard.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we waited. We had, it was like $1,000 less than our first quote. So if I had just pushed and said, let's just do this with the first person we asked, we wouldn't have saved a lot of money. So
yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about going on this journey as a couple. I mean, I'm sure if both of you guys came together without without any debt. There were some of the hard no's and challenges that took place you wouldn't have to experience it, but going through this together as a couple, it solidifies the marriage. It opens up communication. It's a great team building and couple building activity.
Mhm.
And in the end, I mean, I could tell that both of you guys are so are fluid as it relates to communicating regarding money and
Sure.
coming to grips with different things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Jeff, you've mentioned the Lord will provide, the Lord will provide multiple times, man. It's so awesome because when you think about what the Bible says, he who is faithful with little, much will be given into. And then another
Mhm.
thing to that is when you don't have any debt attached to you, when you don't owe anybody anything, when the Lord calls you to do something or say or go somewhere, you don't have to worry about, oh, but God, I have to make this payment and I have these bills and I have these loans, and you don't have to worry about that. You just say yes, Lord, and you go. There's
Yeah.
the burden of your finances is not there, so you are free to follow the Lord in whichever path He calls you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
there's been a lot of cases, and especially since we were officially out of debt in 2020,
Mhm.
was when we hit our 8 years and we got out of debt. And since then, well, now the only debt that we have now is the mortgage on our house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
That's a big save.
that's a big one. But um, but even now and since 2020, what's been really awesome is because of that financial freedom, we've had the opportunity to be generous
Yeah.
in ways that we would have never thought
Yeah.
that we could have been generous before.
Yeah.
Where it's writing checks for $1,000, $2,000, $2,500 to give to someone, a
Wow.
missionary, or to help someone on hey, they're doing a ministry VBS and they are trying to raise money. Well, hey, we know these people, we love these people, we want to invest, we can't be there to help. We'll stroke a check and send it out. And you know what? Hey, if we can be a blessing, then let's do it. And because we have that financial freedom,
Yeah.
there's a couple things. Yeah, we can, and we can do those types of things because we have the financial freedom to do it. And then we also know, like Gene, what you said, right? We know that the Lord's going to provide, and the Lord has provided. And so it's, we reap what we sow. So if we're going to, start sow generosity and sowing good seed into good soil, like we know and have faith that the Lord will provide when we need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh man, that's so good. One of the things is like, so you were in the trenches for 8 years. You guys got married, and then it's fighting about money, and it's like, oh my gosh, you want me to live like I don't have money, so I can do what? And now it's 3 years, and you guys are out of the trenches. Like, how does it feel? Like, Faith, I'm talking to you, Faith. How does it feel? How does it feel?
I mean, when you talk about being free,
Yeah.
that is what it feels like for me.
Yeah.
And to be honest, oh my gosh, like 5 years ago, and this alone will tell you how far we've come in money. Jeff was having a really stressful time at work. Like he just super stressful, and sitting down to do the budget on Saturday morning would only add to all of his stress and paying the bills and all of that. And I was like, I hate the budget, but I love you. And so I took over the budget, and he's trusted me. Jeff has never checked to make sure that I'm making sure the money all goes where it goes. And, so maybe that helped too with the debt snowball, because I started being responsible and not just trusting that he was spending our money, I actually saw where it was going. So that probably helps some. But now that we've paid off our debt, all of the extra money that we have and the freedom that I have, or that I say because I keep track of the budget, but to go to the grocery store, to buy stuff for the kids, like I love being generous to them. I grew up in a home where we did not have extra money. And so for the kids, like Jeff this is where he'll get frustrated. We'll be at the store and they'll be like, Mom, can I get this? And I'm like, yes. And Jeff is like, no. I'm like, come on, I couldn't have this stuff when I was a kid, please. So, that kind of stuff. And I am so careful. Like I will tell them no, it's not a yes every time. But I love being able to do things like that, and or buy a shirt that I like and know that it's not putting us in the hole.
Yeah, the financial freedom that we have, she says, oh, when we have extra money, it's not like we have just, money falling out of pockets and stuff like that. But now, because of the financial freedom, a lot of the money that we had that was allocated towards paying off debt is now been reintroduced into our budget. So we were able to take a large portion of that. It goes away into savings. It goes away into retirement, those types of things. But then there's a chunk of that then went into a budget and a lifestyle that was pretty frugal. So instead of we were the people that hey, we have $20 that we can spend every month on personal expenses that killed. You know what I mean, $20 to anything that you want to do in that month for $20 is fair game. If you want to buy a shirt, great. If you want to buy shoes, that's great. But let's think about it. What shirts or shoes do you know that you could get for $20 anymore, right? And so you'd have to save that for a couple months to have something to spend. Well, now we were able to take some of that extra that came from the debt snowball, reallocate it to places like, hey, going out to eat, personal expenses, those types of things. So now we have the freedom to be able to say, oh, well, yeah, let's order pizza tonight because we have it in the budget. And so we still stay in a budget. We still operate with that Dave Ramsey $0 or
track where all the money goes.
We track where all that goes. But it's because of the paying off the debt that allows us to have a little bit of extra margin in some of those categories where we didn't have before.
Yeah. And I think where we see the biggest difference now is now that we've paid off our debt, when Jeff gets a bonus or, whatever, tax return, whatever, that goes to savings. Yeah. And so that's where our freedom really comes in, because the month to month money is pretty allocated towards needs, but it's that extra money that just, it helps, like putting in a fence. It's before that would have been a no. It would have been a hard no. We're too much in debt. This is not a want. It's not a need. It's a want. And so to be able to say yes to things like that, that is total freedom. Yeah, that's awesome. Just a whole different way of living that I'm very appreciative of.
Absolutely.
And how as we wrap up, how did you guys celebrate that last debt payment?
Oh yeah.
It was COVID.
So yeah, it was during COVID.
So we picked up dinner.
Yeah, no, we picked it up.
We picked up dinner because it was COVID. We didn't even go out to eat. We picked up dinner and we brought it home. Yeah, it was a really nice day for Florida, which for us was also a celebration because we had moved from Ohio. And so we sat outside with our kids and we ate a nice dinner to celebrate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you guys are debt free. You guys went through the whole process. So this is not like we've been debt free all our lives. You guys actually went through the process of cleaning up the mess that you guys made. What would you tell somebody right now who's $48,000 in debt? They are living or they're married, they're single, whatever, they owe this family member or credit cards or car or student loans. What would you tell them to help them or to motivate them to take that first step?
So first step is if I was motivating someone to take the first step is the hardest, because the first step is the hardest, but once you get past that, you start moving, right? So the whole premise of the debt snowball is you got to get started. When you're sitting up at the top with that snowball, or you're sitting up there, you have all that potential energy. It's potential. You got it. It's all there already. You have everything that you need to be able to complete it. You just need to start turning potential into kinetic energy. And once it starts to move, it picks up speed until it gets all the way down the hill. So the end happened. The end is near, and it's going to come, and it will come faster, towards the end. But you get started and you start changing what you already have, which is your potential, and start moving it into kinetic, which is a movement. It is the force of moving forward.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just think that whole thing where you start with your smallest debt and you put everything extra on that, because you actually, I think once you start seeing you can pay off a debt, because if you focused on the whole amount, I think it'd be really easy to be like, well, it's impossible. I might as well enjoy life and just pay these off when I pay them off. You know what I mean? But I think when you start paying off that small loan and you see it disappear and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like this is actually possible.
Yeah.
I think that helped me the most as someone who didn't want to do it at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And how you said it, Jeff, that's I could definitely tell that you're an engineer.
Yes.
So thank you
Yes.
so much, guys, for sharing your story and for allowing being able to inspire someone, one of our audience members, to it relates to their journey, whether they're paying off 48,200 or less or more. Um, I've heard folks say the time is gonna pass. You might as well stop kicking the
right.
can down the road. Just start taking. Just start it. Just start. You have a lot of potential energy. Just get the ball rolling or get the
Yeah.
snowball rolling.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for our viewers, thank you so much for watching. We're encouraging you guys to subscribe, like, and to share with all your friends, families, and associates. And we will continue posting videos such as this to inspire you and to give you hope as it relates to going from debt to life.